Let's save our energy for the show tonight, gang. We're going to need it. Did you ever think of yourself as a bigot, huh? When you look in the mirror, do you see the face of a racist? Well, you may answer no to both of these questions, but our guest tonight will tell you, if you're white, you're both. That's someone I'm really ready to meet, all right? Come on, we'll all meet him next. All right, everybody, welcome back. Zip it. Let me introduce you at home base tonight to the only guests we're going to have tonight. The rest is going to be all of you in the audience. His name is Dr. Charles King, and I guess I could give as many credentials. I'll save the best one for right now, all right? He was a member of the Kerner Commission. For those of you who don't remember the Kerner Commission, it existed in 1968, continues to exist, and has had some reassessments of the past. Let me address my first question to Dr. King. The recently updated and re-released Kerner Commission says that the black situation now is no better. In some ways, as a matter of fact, it's even worse than it was 20 years ago. Who's to blame for that, blacks or whites or both?
That's correct. It is worse. It's the blame of white society, not whites, of its institutions.
So you're not singling out individual whites?
May I first begin by saying that you misstated the premise by saying that if you're white, you're a bigot, or if you're racist, and I'm saying you said us bull. Let me first explain that the majority of white people in America are decent, well-meaning, moralistic, ethical, religious, good-thinking people. If you would call a convention of bigots, they would hardly fill up this room. Bigots are people who make a profit out of, who encourage racial upheavals, and they do that out of self-interest, to get something out of it. That's like the Ku Klux Klan, like the White Citizen Council. There are very few white people in America who would join the Klan. These are your bigots.
All right, so is there a difference between a bigot and a racist?
Yes. Racism is the customs, the habits, and the traditions of a majority group, where people innocuously take part in those traditions, unaware of what they do to minority groups. You see, a lot of people think that racism is a nasty term. It is not, per se. Racism is prejudice, which you all are prejudiced, plus the power to impose that prejudice.
All right, you think that white people have the power to impose prejudice?
White society has.
White society, what is white society made up of?
White people.
What particular group of white people? What particular group of white people?
Let me explain this.
Would it be the white politicians?
When I say white society, white institutions, all institutions, white, are controlled by no more than 7 people.
Let me hear the 7 people.
President, board of directors, chief executive officer.
Oh, I see. Not one single 7 people.
We are a nation of sheep. White people follow white institutions. Yes, they do. You pay your taxes. You pay your taxes.
All right, we're going to get to you in the audience in a second, because we're going to come right into the audience.
They tell you when to come to work. They tell you when to quit.
All right, how about blacks? Are they racist?
No.
How about Hispanics? Wait a second. How about Hispanics?
Let me explain that. Racism is prejudice plus the power to impose your prejudice. If I had a blackboard here, I'll prove it to you in 2 minutes, and then you'll say I'm right.
No, without a blackboard, let me say that I think there's a chance that you could be wrong, Doctor, all right? Because you were taking...
Not hardly.
You were taking racism, all right?
Not hardly.
Yeah, quite obviously, all right? Racism, you say, is whites because they have the power to impose it, and therefore they are racist.
Let me ask you a question.
These
Okay,
people,
what
we
power?
don't have any damn power.
What power does white society have to keep black people from gaining their rightful place in America? What power? What do they do to minorities? Already blacks. We're talking about Hispanics.
Yeah.
We're talking about women.
A lot of whites, too.
We're talking about women.
Yeah, we're talking about a lot of whites.
We're talking
Why do we keep adding women as minority? They represent 52% of the population.
How many of them on the Supreme Court? How many of them are president? How many are in the Congress? Don't tell about what they represent. They don't represent any
I'm telling you
power.
what they represent.
That's like the racism is power. It is power plus prejudice. It is not people per se. And every woman in this audience ought to be offended by what he just said.
Any woman who has brains shouldn't be offended because she gets out and exercises her franchise, doesn't sit on her ass and complain about what not's being done for her. She can change it. So can all of us. Jesse Jackson's changing it.
That's ludicrous. What I'm hearing here is a white man telling white women who know better.
I'm telling all women.
That they can
not
get
just
out.
White. Why the hell do you have to think that I only speak to white people?
Because this is a white-black issue. And I'm showing you, if I turn your argument around and make it white, then they can see how foolish you sound. He's telling white women that they can get out here tomorrow and change things.
Damn right. Damn right. Damn right they can change things. They can change things. All of us here, in our audience tonight, you and me, doctor, whether we're black, whether we're white, whether we're Hispanic, whether we're Oriental, we can change it.
Let me ask you this. How many women out there in the audience is willing to stand on your feet and tell him that he's wrong in that premise? How many men are willing to stand up and say that women can change things in this country? Stand up and tell him he's wrong. I say they cannot. This system is run by white, male, Protestant, heterosexuals. And they are the only ones. They are the only ones in the society that profit from being that.
So the perfect thing would be if we could run the country with transsexuals.
One of the premises of destroying truth and logic is to use sarcasm.
And one of the premises of trying to make everyone feel like a racist is to make them feel guilty. And that is a Marxist premise that will allow us to become subservient to the thought of but one person.
What does that mean?
Means the same thing that your word ludicrous meant before.
I love this. This is what you call intellectual masturbation.
There comes a time in our life, my friends, all of us realize that any kind of masturbation is better than none. Racism, we're going to find out if it's growing every single day. And we'll be right back. Sitting at home base with me, Dr. Charles King. That is our only guest tonight, and I think you'll want to stay tuned with us. Doctor, let me go to you now first. I think we all agree that racism exists, all right? But are you going to tell me it exists simply because your skin is darker than mine or your hair is a bit curlier? Isn't that kind of simplistic? Well, I mean, why does racism really exist?
Okay, it exists because of this reason, that the darker the skin, the more of the prejudice. The darker one's skin is, what we call high social visibility. When people are dark complected, they're much different than people who are not that way. They attract attention. And if they are of another race, it's double the mystique.
So is that the reason the years I have spent in Africa, I got treated so poorly over there because I had white skin and the blacks were racist?
Any person who is different in a different crime is bound to feel the effects of your identity. You see, the problem in America is white people don't know the importance of identity because they never have to do anything because they're white. What they do is
But
normally.
that's not true. Wait a second. That's not true. The Italians felt it when they came over here.
They are white
the
people.
Irish felt it when they
They are
came
white
over
people.
here.
They are white
All right.
people.
The Germans felt it
They
when
are
they
white
came over
people.
here. Is that why they had to live in
Whiteness-
ghettos?
whiteness-
Is that why they lived in ghettos?
No.
Is that why the newspaper ads would say in 1922 in Boston, Massachusetts, Irish Catholic need not apply?
But the point is, that day is now over because they are white. Okay. Black people, Jewish, there's a lot of anti-Semitism in this country. There's a lot of it. It's based upon whether or not you stereotypically consider white people stereotypically consider Jews as religion or their name. And discrimination exists in this country. Let's face that as a fact. Anyone's different. You have a different religion, you're going to be discriminated against. See, America.
Basically, though, well, wait a second. We're
What?
going to get you down here in a second because we can't hear you. The mics aren't down far enough to
You
hear
say
you.
what?
But basically, aren't we talking, Doctor, that in every instance,
Why
in every instance there's
are we running
racism?
over the facts that I'm giving you? Here's what happens to black people.
Go ahead, Doctor.
And notice this, as I talk, anytime I give you a truth, anytime I make a statement like this, most of the people in the audience know that's true. That's meant to have a period there. By George, accept that as being true and an honest statement. What happens to black people is that every time we utter a truth like this, then somebody like Morton Downey will say, yes, but, and he comes up here with something completely different than what I say there to keep from facing up with that. And we're always caught, black people are always caught answering up to secondary subjects as advanced after the white person refuses to acknowledge that to be a fact. Now,
No,
notice while I'm on
the
this
white
program,
person is acknowledging that there is racism that exists.
Precisely.
The white person is also saying that racism is not necessarily in the hands who have control.
as I'm saying to you, racism is prejudice plus power. And the only people in America who are prejudiced with the power to impose that are white people and white institutions. That is a period.
Well, let me ask you a question.
That means that black people cannot be racist. That means that Hispanics cannot be racist. That means that women cannot be
in this country, you're saying, right?
That's all I'm concerned about at this moment. We're talking about racism in America. One of the cardinal rules that I give in my course, and I'm giving you the course right now, let's be honest. Let's stick to the black-white issue.
All right?
And then we're going to other minorities.
Let's stick to the black-white issue. Let's
All right.
forget all other minorities, all right? You have just made a racist statement. No other minority is important to you except the black one.
Now, hear what he said? Let me state unequivocally, I have fought all my life, not for black people alone, but for women, for Hispanics, for Jewish people, for American Indians, for everyone in this country who is deprived and not given an equal opportunity. I will stand here on this platform and fight for them. Secondly, I said this when I started out. I introduced the subject that I also am concerned about women. I'm concerned about Eskimos. I'm concerned about American Indians. I'm concerned about Jews. Did I not say that? How dare he to come back and say, I'm only concerned about black people. He wouldn't pass my period.
You just made the statement. You
period
just made the statement, good doctor, that we would not talk about it. All right? But for now, they haven't been concerned with those people for 100 years. Why can't we be concerned with them now, too?
Here's the reason why. Every time black people start explaining the black problem, here's what white people do. They say, look, we admit we're racist. We admit we're kicking you. And then they say, why don't you talk about how we also are kicking Indians? How we also are kicking... You're bragging about other people mistreating. Well, you asked me to consider that. Why have you considered that until I came on this program? The point is, you use my presence to make believe that now you're concerned about other minorities, when you're not.
Move that monitor out here a second for the audience. Move that monitor out here while the good doctor says I'm not concerned about everyone else. While the good doctor tries to lay a guilt trip on my mind. Let me see what I was doing in 1971.
This is what
Let
you
me
call...
see, doctor.
This is what you call...
Let me see, doctor. That says CRS, United States Department of Justice. February 2nd, 1971, CRS, Civil Rights Section. I was fighting for it before I had any guilt complex. You didn't know that about me, did you? Didn't know that about me.
1971.
1971. And the reason I was appointed to that is because without a guilt complex, I was arrested in 1958, 1959, 60, and 61 in the civil rights movement, working for the rights of minorities in this country, and I don't give a what anyone says. I defend them because I believe it's right.
In my course, this is what is known as the great white liberal syndrome. Let me explain
Not
it to you.
from this guy.
They can
The
point
great
to...
white liberals are who
Let me
put the
talk now.
blacks
You
in the
had your
spot
chance.
they're in.
You had your chance, didn't you? Let me speak now.
Obviously, doctor, you've had
What he
yours
did
for a long
was-
time, too.
What he did was gave me the year and the place and the time, and then gave some more years, 1960. So, but I'm asking him, baby, what have you done lately?
What I have done lately is present a forum, all right? A forum for showing love and understanding in this country, and the realization that indeed each and every one of us are a racist.
Now, what you
It's much
Thank you.
easier.
Thank you.
Doctor, just one second.
Thank you.
It's much easier for all of us to say, hey, man, I like that black guy over there. I mean, we like individuals, and you're right. As a race, sometimes we despise races, but individually we love people.
Okay, precisely. Now, let me do this for you. Let me commend you for what you have done in the past as for giving me this opportunity to try to shed some light on the future.
All right, sir.
Okay?
All right.
Now, from this point on, then, let's find out what the people in the audience really think.
Good.
How far have we really come?
Let's be perfectly candid, all right? Don't be afraid to say you hate the black race or the
You're
Hispanic
setting them up
race
now.
or the Oriental race. I'm not setting them up.
Don't
You
set
said be
them up.
honest.
Yeah, don't set
You said
them
be
up.
honest.
You're
Say
trying to
what's
make
on
it-
your mind.
Okay.
When we come back,
First of
we're
all-
going into the audience, the doctor and myself.
Why can't we? No, I'm going on it by myself.
You go to any part of the audience you want. I'll go to any part of the audience I want. We'll
I
be
made
back
a
in
deal.
just a second. Come on. All right. Welcome back. Dr. King, I'm going to turn the show over to him momentarily. Don't worry, I'll make comments if I have to. Dr. King, the audience is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I want to see who in the audience thinks they're free from prejudice. How many people up there think that you're not prejudiced? Raise your hand. Will you come down here, please? Come on down. All right, stand right here. Stand right in front of him, and stand right in front of him. Stand right in front of her, rather. Okay. Now, give me this gentleman here. Will you stand up, please? Stand right there. Stand right there. Okay. This gentleman, will you stand there, please? Stand up. No, not you. The guy without so much sense. You stand up. Okay. Here's the situation. It's 16 degrees below zero. Your car breaks down right there. You look down the road 1 mile, you see a white man standing on his porch. You look 1 mile down that way, you see a black man standing on his porch. You have to get in out of the cold. Which house are you going to go into? You have your family with you, and you might have to stay in the house for all week long. You follow me? Walk. You're in the middle.
I'm right.
You don't know anyone at all.
Okay.
All you see is that's black, that's white, And you can't go there and then go there. You must go to one of these homes and you must stay there for a week. Walk.
Well,
Walk! Walk! He's going to freeze his butt off. Walk! Walk! Walk!
Go ahead. Walk.
Walk!
Walk to the man you're going to stay, whose house you're going to stay
Walk.
in. And I'm going to walk too.
Walk.
All right?
Walk. Have a seat. The first lesson we learned here is that we all are prejudiced. Call it. Walk. Come on.
I come right up and I walk. I'm down the road. It's cold, right? And what I have to do now?
Walk into the house you think you'll go to.
Over here.
Have a seat. Have a seat. Thank you.
I'm here with you,
Well, then we're always together.
There was no right answer to that.
Anyone who does not do that defies the law of sociology.
But isn't
It is
there a
called
reason?
ethnocentricism, the tendency of people to prefer people who are just like them.
Absolutely.
It's natural.
That does not create a racism.
Precisely, it does not. But it shows how easily we can become a part of a group without
course.
understanding other people.
Of course.
All right, now, second thing. Hey, let's forget it. Let's forget it. We don't have to.
Yes, sir. Show us. Bravo. That's right.
Second question.
But he wasn't. Wait a second. You're missing the point here a second.
I was showing him what to do. I wasn't participating in that. I will participate in it. I am black. I prefer to be with black people, just like you prefer to be with white people. That's why y'all are here. It has nothing to do with racism. That we are naturally inclined to be with people who are like us, and anyone different than us, we exercise our prejudice. Pardon?
If I went this way, I was full of crap, and if I went that way, you're racist.
No. He did not say you were racist.
I made no comment at all on anyone who went anywhere. I left the audience to draw their judgment. Did I not do that?
But
Did
the
I call you
judgment,
about a racist?
the
I
judgment,
let you see.
the judgment was not that you were a racist. Am I correct?
Precisely.
All right. Now, how are we going to
But
get
they
around
were
to
trying to
proof?
get off the hook. That's what it was.
Okay, how do we get to racism?
Okay, here's how we get to
Let's
racism.
get to racism.
Here's how we get to racism. It's the inability of other white people to challenge other white people when they know that white person is wrong. That's how the problem starts. For instance, if I ask you, what is the basic cause of the problem between black people and white people? He will not tell me. Now listen, what is it?
What is basic?
What's the basic cause of the problem between blacks and whites in America?
I don't really know. Can't tell you.
How about if I told you it's a lack of understanding of each other's culture?
That's not true.
It isn't, huh?
That's not true. Because black people understand white culture.
If they understand it, why can't they assimilate with it?
Because white people are hung up on sex.
Now, I will use the doctor's word, ludicrous. Ludicrous.
Quickly.
Let's have that. Go ahead. Let's see. The doctor is again going to get his coloring book and give you an example.
A Swedish sociologist was brought to America to find out why do we have this racial problem. Here's what they found out by interviewing hundreds of thousands of white people. White, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They found that the most white people were fearful of black people. Why were they fearful of black people? Because of the sexual relationships, possibly, particularly the black man and the white woman.
You mean rape?
The second thing they were fearful of in a marriage, any connection, was to be social with black people. Okay? The third fear was to go to school with black people. And the fourth fear was to live near black people, and the fifth fear was to work with black people. In other words, not you, but white America, that is the dominant pattern in this country. This is a rank order of how black people get white people uptight. In that order there. This is the most emotional, this is the least emotional. Now they ask black people.
Let me ask this lady. What are the reasons that white people would get you uptight? Are there any reasons?
I'm telling you that. Let me tell you why.
Let's see. I don't want to know what you say. I want to know what an independent thinking black woman would think. Doctor, let this lady.
I think it's a lack of understanding on both sides
Here's what
in many issues. I think that people really have to learn to understand what each particular party is interested in.
All right, now here's a lady who has her own mind, her own answer.
Study by what one lady. Don't refute my study or the study that's been made by what one woman says.
Socio-engineers who have created the hate. Doctor, in a demonstration to show you that I am not opposed to being reduced from a human being to an easel, I stood here and allowed you to draw that. All right?
Now let me tell you what racism is. Here's what racism is. Here I am, working 22 years in the field of race relations. I hate to throw up credentials. A member of the President's Commission on Civil Disorders, who has studied this problem for 22 years. I'll just give you a study that was made about white and black people by Gunnar Mardell, a Swedish sociologist, that cost $4 million. I told you how white people felt. Then I was going to tell you what black people felt. So what he did, he went to a black person and asked what did she think as to vis-a-vis to oppose what the study was made of millions of black people. And that's unfair. Let me finish. They asked black people, what do you feel about white people? Black people said, we're angry. So the first thing we learn about blacks and whites is that whites are fearful of blacks. Blacks are angry at white people. Why are blacks angry? Because of the lack of opportunity, jobs.
Let's go. Let me, I'm sorry for leaning over you. Do you folks, either one of you folks have a comment? Doctor, let me hear from this lady.
Wait a minute. No, you be quiet. No, you be quiet. Okay, you made a statement not to ask this lady about the opinion of one black opinion.
After I finished the sentence.
Wait a minute. You're rude for one thing, okay? You asked this one black man, this one white man, his opinion on the whole white issue. So why this one black woman? Okay, now you have a second black woman. What you're saying, mister, is very ludicrous, okay? You do not...
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you a question. What have I said here that you disagree with?
That blacks are not racist. That's what I disagree with what you say. Blacks are racist, whites are racist, we're all racist. We have racist opinions. We all do.
You know what racism is?
From not your explanation.
Well, you give me your definition of it.
Doesn't allow blacks to be racist.
Give me your definition of it.
Prejudice.
Oh, come on. Prejudice.
Well, tell me. Give me a better explanation.
This is why we spend hundreds of millions of dollars on studies in this country to come up with these answers.
You have to be able to do something to white people that would impose your race on them. You can do nothing to them that would make your race relativism. Nothing.
Why should I have to impose my race on them?
Because that's what racism is. It's the imposition of race on another race. You see?
It boils down to prejudice.
See, now you're going back. You get away from logic.
Yeah, it boils down to prejudice.
You go back to something that we all are. We all are prejudiced. I admit that.
Absolutely.
But racism and prejudice are two different subjects. It is not. If it's so, it would be called racism and prejudice.
Let me come to this gentleman here. Let me come to this. Doctor?
Will you tell her that she's
wrong? Wait a second.
I'll
tell you what. Let's examine this further because maybe we're all a little bit wrong. We'll take a break and we'll be right back. Let me, again, I want the good doctor to continue with this. I want to ask the doctor a hypothetical here for just a second, all right? Knowing that blacks are 8 times as
Normally, I
likely.
don't deal with hypothetical questions. You know
Let me,
why? Because
doctor, for Christ's sake, let me ask the question, will you? Let me ask it. Then tell me you won't deal with a hypothetical.
how many times have
Hypothetical
you interrupted
situation.
people on this show?
About 9,000 times
Well,
a night
just give me
and a
the
minute.
privilege
And I'm giving
to
you the
interrupt
privilege.
you.
Go ahead. You got it. You've interrupted?
Okay, now go
Okay,
ahead.
now I'll go ahead. Doctor, knowing that blacks are 8 times as likely as whites to commit a violent crime, is a white woman prejudiced when she crosses the street to avoid a black man, or is she just reacting to factual reality or to what the press has made the black people look like in this country?
Both at all. The environmental circumstance of white people keeps them away from black people. As a matter of fact, there are 200 million white people in America. There are 25 million black people in America. Most white people don't know any black persons. Let me repeat the statistic, and then you'll see that I'm right. Listen.
All right.
There are 200 million white people in America. There are 25 million black people in America.
All right, prove your statistics.
70% of all black people live in inner cities. Most white people in America don't know any black people. Can't you see why?
Yeah.
You don't go by what you know. I say most white people, not you. You know some, but most white people don't know that.
All right.
Because of the geographical
you've got,
and environmental separation.
You've got cities like Denver. You've got cities like San Francisco. You've got a number of cities who are watching this show
go to
right
Iowa,
now.
go to Kansas,
But you're not
go to
going to find that
Nebraska,
many
go to
people
Colorado.
there. Doctor, we're only going to find 5% of our population in those states. Wait a second. Let me go to the audience. Let this gentleman say a word, Doctor. A guest. Go ahead. Go ahead.
First of all, I want to say, God bless America.
All right. Okay. What do you want to say?
Number two, I'm very proud to be American citizen regardless of where I come from. Number three, none of you know my story, but I drove 1,000 miles Sunday night, escaped from torture. And nobody knows why I come here for. I come to speak to this gentleman. And thank God and thanks to all of you, allow me to come to this place to speak to this man.
Speak.
I come because I've been discriminated against, I've been tortured, I have a successful business because it happened to be in the most valuable property where I come from, the city I come from. I've been tortured because the politicians, the crooks, some people have been bought out just to kick me out because have...
What's the point? Are you being discriminated against because of your nationality?
Yes, sir, I am.
Because of the way you look?
Yes, sir, that's
Sounds
correct.
to me like you come from Detroit.
No. No, I come from Nashville, Tennessee. That's exactly where I come from.
Where are you from, sir?
Nashville, Tennessee. And I've been discriminated against, and I come for help to the people here in New Jersey and New York, and they have so beautiful, open heart. They welcomed me over here. They know nothing about me, and they opened their heart to me, and here I come, right sitting on the front chair.
Television critics at home.
And they try to help me over here.
Remember,
and God bless America.
this man... You television critics at home, remember, this man drove 1,000 miles to meet the people of New York and New Jersey to get the hell away from it. So don't knock my audience, you sleazeballs. Mr. Ennis, this gentleman wants to say something, Doctor.
Okay.
Sir? And then Mr. Ennis, you say something.
Martin, for you and Mr. King, both what you both say has a lot of merit. Countries ran by 10% of the population. The other 90% just hangs on. We are like electric current. We seek the path of least resistance. Whenever temperaments or situations change for those people that can control that current flow, those are the people that create the prejudice.
See,
If there's
but
prejudice.
we could control the current flow, and I'm sure Dr. King would agree if all of us would recognize that the real problem comes from those who have gotten the power and those who abuse the power.
No.
And they abuse it by not listening to the people. That's
Here's-
wrong.
here's where the-
Let's
here's-
go back and
here's
listen to
where the real
20-year-old
problem is.
theory.
Here's what the real problem is. Here is the real problem. The greatest crime of this century was not what Hitler did in Germany when he induced the Holocaust. That was not the greatest crime of the century. The greatest crime of the century were the Christians who knew that was wrong and never said a damn word about it. Said nothing. And what I do on this program, and what black people do on this program, we try, like this man is doing, try to tell you what the problem is. Sir, be not deceived. They're not going to help you because the people that did it to you are white.
Yes, they're going to help you because this gentleman is going to help you at the club.
He's black.
No, sir. This club is taken for
They won't help him.
Stay there, stay there.
Oh, my God. He got a black man to help
All right.
him.
We're going to come back to the audience in just a second. Doctor, we'll be back with the audience. Let's go. Doctor, let's go to our loudmouths. This is when we try to get the audience to get involved, all right? Because they're smarter than all these damn commissions put together.
Okay. Right.
I think everybody has prejudice in them, no matter what color, race, anything.
Right.
So you're coming off saying that
I said the same thing you said.
right, but you're saying white people are the ones who always started up whatever. So when I'm walking down the street and a black man called me a white bitch, I'm just supposed to let it slide. He's not being prejudiced or anything, right?
Just cut them back. Call the police.
Everybody's prejudiced, no matter what. Everybody has
We're talking about two
hate
different
inside them.
things. We're talking about two different things.
No.
If someone mistreats you, fight it off. Call the police, do any damn thing you want to do. Right.
But black people, white people, they all have it inside them.
Precisely.
Not just white people.
Precisely. I said that.
Now, how we solve it?
It's the way you brought up. People,
How we solve it?
people have to just
Got to be a way
want-
to solve it, though,
there
right?
has to be, yeah.
Okay. We got
Well,
4
we had
minutes
40
left.
years of liberal programs that have done nothing but create more hunger among the whites and the blacks, less education among the whites and the blacks, more poverty among the whites and the blacks. Isn't it time that we recognize these 40 years of liberal pablum-puking programs have done nothing, and then we return to the people and let them come up with an idea?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
If the black people were in power.
I'm not going to deal with that. We're not empowered. Next.
Okay, let me say one other.
Never waste your time on a hypothetical when you have reality with you.
Then let me
Reality is, I live in Los Angeles. Mayor Bradley is in power. What do I do then? Are they seeking power? Is Mayor Bradley seeking power only for the blacks? Or indeed, isn't he someone who represents
Anytime
everyone?
you find most black mayors, whatever the mayors, they spread the concern equally among the city. They have to do that.
Is that why when...
Would there still be this racism if the blacks gain power in this country?
I imagine if they had power, they would oppose their feelings.
So you're saying whatever group is in power, there's going to be
That's
racism.
the majority.
But do you have any solution?
You recognize that as a fact, and don't do that. Stop using our prejudice to keep other people from having the same thing you have.
So
Stop doing
then
wrong.
they have to recognize...
My solution is do right by everybody.
For everybody to do right by
Exactly.
everybody, right?
Now-
All right. Let me ask Roy. Let me ask Mr. Evans.
Okay, King, I don't agree with you that the greatest crime that's been committed this century is Christians being silent.
Okay,
The greatest crime is that integration was imposed upon a nation, this America. Integration has one thing in common with something we call apartheid. In order to have integration, you have to use force. In order to have apartheid, you have to have force.
So what do you recommend?
I recommend choice, freedom of choice.
We have.
We do not have freedom of choice.
We have.
And we do not have freedom of choice because liberal guys like you forced the integration on America and stood by it. You denied people who wanted freedom of choice to come forward. That's the problem in America. That is why, that's, you're afraid for me to come on with you, and I'm not going to let you bypass me. You are afraid.
I'm glad to have you on with me, so all America can know what a black fool looks like.
Yes. You're the black fool.
Harry,
You're the black fool.
you know, this is something, you see, this is something we've watched happen in this country.
Let me
it's
tell you
terrible.
something.
White people call blacks niggers, and now black people call blacks who like white people Uncle Tom. I mean,
I have not forced myself on anyone.
Let me tell you something about black
No,
racism.
let me let this young lady speak. Let me let this young lady.
I don't have a exact question. It's more of a statement. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and I knew nothing about discrimination and integration, and all this because I just not live in that kind of neighborhood. And even in Virginia, where I went in the summertime, where my aunt lived, excuse me, no, don't interrupt me because I wasn't rude to you. Don't interrupt me.
Talk about what
And
about the problem of black people.
Hold it. Let me have. Can I have my freedom? Okay, let me speak. And what burns me up is the fact that I had to get grown to know what discrimination, segregation, and all this other stuff is all about. Everything is within a person. It does not change me. You know what I'm saying? Because my roots and where I came from, I didn't deal with all this.
The problem with
what I'm
people
saying
trying
is
to
this:
explain
nobody can
racism
hold me
is they always
down
talk
but
about what happened to
myself.
them.
I think one thing, I'm going to take that break in just a minute, but I think one thing we have to remember is that our leadership is out of touch with the people, all right? Let me give you an example. 89%, these are facts, doctor, because you like these studies, 89% of black leaders, all right, are in favor of abortion. 86% of black people are opposed to abortion. Now, does that sound like the black leadership is leading their flock in the right direction?
See, what you're doing is you're pointing your finger at one of the effects of the problem instead of dealing with the cause. Naturally, black people are divided because white people
are not very divided.
Into different
They're
camps.
not divided. They're not divided. They're not divided. The people know that type of liberal garbage is only started so that they can get the blacks to limit their birth rate and not take over the country. That's what they're afraid of. We'll be back in a second. I wish tonight we had more time to go to everyone here. I would like the doctor to make a closing 30-second statement.
Yeah, Morton, I'd like to come back.
You're back. You come back. I'd like you to come back, and I'd like you to watch this show to see that these good people and those good people watching this show care about America. Care about America.
Meanwhile, thanks a lot. Yes, sir.
I think the blacks right now have to pull together. They have a lot more opportunities than they did 20 years ago. Develop positive role models, do as well as they can in education, and build themselves up instead of just complaining.
We're trying like hell to do that.
Wait, do it, and not just, you complain, you could...
We're doing that as hard as we can. We always have done that. Blacks always have done that.
Right.
And I think we've all got to try to do it.
Next.
I think we're missing a big point.
Quickly, you got 10 seconds.
What you're asking for is something without giving anything. You have to earn respect. Respect isn't given. You have to earn equal opportunity.
It's not just, but that's me, that's you, that's him, that's all of us. And we've got to earn respect from everyone, all right?
Doctor, the one solution is love. We must learn to love each other.
And
black or white.
You got it. Mr. Ennis, come here. All right? Here's a black man, and a white man, and a black man, and a whole family out there of great people. Good night, America!
Stardom's only a gong away on the all-new Gong Show, coming up next right here on 31 UHN.
Okay? Even that prestigious bastion of liberal pablum puking blah, the New York Times has finally come to accept the facts. When it comes to black and white people in this country, we are worlds apart, all right? It's about time we start, all right, telling it exactly like it is. Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not give us all the sociological BS that goes with it. Whites and blacks may be totally equal, but we sure as hell are different as day and night. Now, there have been riots, unrest, and horrible acts of violence throughout our history, even events that no one can condone. But who's to blame? Is it white people who are accused of being the oppressors, or black people taking their frustrations to the streets? Are we going to pussyfoot around, or are we a nation strong enough to call the culprits on the carpet, make those responsible, be they white or black, pay the price? Let's exact that first payment right now. Come on. I know most of the people at home will see this after Valentine's Day, but I just want to tell the audience, happy Valentine's Day, and at home a little bit late, all right? All right? All right? And my fiance is not in here tonight, but I want you to know that she gave me this. I've got my heart on. All right? Let me introduce Dr. Charles King, who happens to be the director of Urban Crisis in Atlanta, Georgia. Doctor, how are you tonight?
Glad to be here, Morton.
Are all white people racist, Doctor? You've said that, and all black people not racist?
Now, when we say all, that's an exaggeration. We say most. And that's
most
not,
meaning 67%, 80%, 92%?
Well, I wouldn't put it percentage, but I say the majority of people in America who are culturally acclimated toward their own race tend to conform to that culture. There are many.
So that could be white, black, yellow, red, brown.
And there are many who don't.
Uh-huh.
In other words, there are a lot of white people who don't want to be white. A lot of black people don't want to be black. So when I say all, we just use that term for usage about exactness.
Now, are things getting better or worse in race relations? Worse?
Yes, worse.
They're getting worse, all right? Now, if you say that, let me give you a statistic, all right? And this comes from the Harris poll. 78%, I should say in 1967, 78% of whites were opposed to busing. 1987, 10 years later, 57% of whites are opposed to busing. That seems to be is that an acceptance of something you can't do anything about, or is that a belief that busing really has helped? And we all know it has.
What happens is that whenever the races get together, there's an old sociological term that says that association brings on assimilation. So once blacks and whites are in together in any kind of social setting or educational setting, that tends to permeate feelings and lose the fear of not being with each other.
Is that the reason that there's so little racism reported in, let's say, something like show business, all right, because blacks and whites work so closely together?
Once you're closely aligned to the other race, the mystique goes out of it, and people associate more freely that way.
Let me show you a piece of tape, if you don't mind, our audience at home and here in the studio, where a black man went, I believe, overboard. Now, even though this man is a good friend of mine, and the kid that is depicted in this is a son of a bitch. Isn't this really violence against white people? May I see that tape, please?
Uncle Tom here, stuck it up trying to be a white.
Now, let me tell you. Hey, you gotta kick. You gotta kick. You gotta kick.
Isn't that a little violence? I mean, the kid is a creep ball, all right? Well, he's a scumbag. But that violence.
Here, the one thing wrong with things like this as you watch them is one black person against another one white person. And then people say things are getting worse, or that's how black people act. These are two individuals. This is an incidental act that rarely takes place society. Matter of fact, one of the great mysteries that's connected with black-white relationships is why there is less violence between the races as there actually is.
Because when there is violence, it's usually black against black. It's usually robbing and burning down
Right.
ghettos of their own businesses.
It's rarely a racial conflict that involves masses of people. Even in your racial disorders, it's blacks looting and burning or stealing, but rarely attacking white people. Blacks do not attack white people.
Why?
It might be a white person.
Why?
Wait
a second. I think. Wait a second. Let's listen. Let's listen for 1 minute. Do they not attack black people in a mob?
Violence takes place between persons, not people. There's a difference between black people, white people, and white persons and black persons.
It's your generation that made bigots and racists and everything else out of us younger people. And number two, the only bigots and racists that there are the media, the papers. They're the ones who make black and white. Every time there's a fight or something that goes on here, right away it's a racist thing.
I tend to agree with you.
So, but there's no such thing. I don't know what you're talking about, though, right? It's about everybody.
You see, whenever there is a conflict, and the media picks it up like two individuals, a black and a white, then people say race relations are getting worse. We're really talking about two persons, not people.
But you just said race relations were getting worse.
Pardon?
You just said earlier race relations were getting worse.
The people of today are trying to get it better. The younger people of today are trying to make it better. You older people, are making it worse.
You go by statistics.
You keep bringing up crap from years ago.
Now what?
Let it die. Let the younger generation take over for 5 years, and you'll see it change. There are no more bigots. You people are bigots. You older generation are bigots. Let the younger generation take over for a while, and you'll see it change.
Are you talking about white people or black
I'm not
people?
talking white. I'm not talking black.
Okay,
I'm talking about the younger people of today.
Let's make that distinction.
I made the distinction.
All right, now, black people are not bigots.
Great. If there are bigots in every
Bigotry,
race, not just black or white. There are black bigots just as much as there are white bigots.
Black people are not, neither are most white people are not bigots.
Oh, give me a break.
Hold it.
There are Chinese bigots. There are Indian bigots.
No.
You don't know what you're talking about. Go back to your book.
Doctor, you're saying right now.
Go back to your book. You have no idea what you're talking about.
You're saying right now that most white people aren't bigots.
Precisely.
But you said at the beginning of the show most white people were bigots.
Between bigotry and racism.
Oh, okay.
There's a distinction.
All right.
Did you put that in writing?
Precisely. It's in my book.
Well, then I think that all white people are bigots.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
No.
I said that most white people are not bigots.
You said most whites
Now,
are
listen
not
to me.
bigots.
I think you're just trying to
Now,
sell more
listen
books
to me.
is
Now,
what
listen.
I think you're trying to do.
Now, wait a minute.
And you're trying to sell them to black people is what you're trying to do.
Well, now let's hear the man. Let's hear him. Let's hear the man. Let's listen to him.
Now, here you have an example of the illogic, and here you have an example of non-reasoning. The young man accused me of saying that all white people are bigots. He's yelling at me. And I said, no, I did not say that. I
He said most
white people
were
not
racist.
bigots.
Most white people weren't bigots.
Now,
Give us an explanation of the difference between racism and bigotry.
Me again.
Doctor,
Yes.
give us an explanation of your difference between racism and bigotry.
Racism
Give us a definition.
is the customs, the habits, and the traditions of a majority group that has a tendency to have an adverse effect upon a minority group. It doesn't necessarily mean you're having a bad attitude about blacks. It means your society and your culture goes in such a way that it is detrimental to the progression of blacks,
let me ask you a question, Doctor.
Hispanics,
Let me ask you a question.
and all of the minorities.
Let me ask you a question. So that lumps in white people, all right, versus blacks because that's the minority. I understand. Are Jews white people, sir?
By definition, whatever they want to, the Jewish is either religion or a nationality.
All right,
Even Jews
but we assume that
differ on
Jews
that.
are white people,
Even
right?
they differ
And
among
how are
that
they
themselves.
singularly selected out for the
But they are
defamation that they
discriminated
take?
against. I'm not here to run
But here we are. We're splitting it.
on
That means you got
what is
Irish,
a Jew.
Italian, German. I mean, you got everything that we can separate in the whites.
So let's
and
deal
make
with
one against the other.
discrimination, not definition. There's anti-Semitism in this country. Women are discriminated against. Hispanics are discriminated against. Asians are discriminated against.
Irish were discriminated against. Italian were discriminated against.
The only
Puerto
persons
Ricans were
in this
discriminated
culture.
against.
Listen to this very carefully, and I dare someone to say I'm wrong.
Let's hear him. Let's hear him first. Please, let's hear this.
The only persons in this country who are not discriminated against are white, male Protestants, heterosexual. Listen to that. Listen to me again.
Down the streets of Newark, New
Listen
Jersey
to this
recently.
again.
It's not all white male Caucasians. We're all from different races.
You're a white man.
I admit I'm white, but there are no American whites in this country. We are all from different parts of this world.
That's the
There
intellectual
are nobody
observation.
here.
You're white, my friend. That's all we're talking about.
I know I'm white.
We all
But
know
you
you
said
have.
white American.
What?
You said white American. There is not one person here that is a white American.
Well, you're straining a gnat and swallowing a camel.
All right, let's take a break here for a second to find out, is racism natural? And really, are we all guilty of something that's a natural thing to go through? Stay with us. All right, let me, for the benefit of Dr. King, I wish we would roll a piece of tape. I'd like the doctor to take a look at something else that I think shows a little bit of racism, at least on the part of maybe some blacks. May I see that tape, please? Let me ask the Reverend Al a question, all right? It's almost a year now, almost a one-year anniversary of the Tawana Brawley case. And as the days pass, the story fills with more and more holes. Finally, you guys have admitted that Tawana wrote on her own body.
No, we never admitted that.
You did that on television the
No,
other
we
day.
did not.
Al Sharpton, who promised us, Fat Al, most of you know him, he promised us, Doctor, that he would produce Tawana Brawley on our show, promised us that she would tell the whole story, promised us on television on another show that we would be the show that he would introduce this on. Al Sharpton hasn't produced Tawana Brawley ever. Al Sharpton couldn't deliver a quart of milk if he had a seal test route. Right? I mean, is this a case of a man, black or white, knowing that the media will gobble up, as this young lady says, this kind of crap, and really venting his frustration and his bravura to the public so that he can become a big man and the hell with anyone else?
This is not a case of whether it's black or white. This is a case of a black man who, with his ego, utilized the situation to promote himself to the detriment of all black people.
Yeah. I mean, lawyers, if those were white lawyers, they've been disbarred.
I deplore what Al did. I deplore everyone that was associated with that case because it is hard. We have enough legitimate problems as black people, rather than to manufacture one and promote it nationally as it's a big lie.
Well, let me go back to the New York Times article. You're absolutely, I didn't mean to cut off your applause on that. You're right. Going back to the New York Times article, I quoted before 78%, I believe, of 78% of the black underclass are women. Now, does this indicate that black women are inferior or that black men don't take care of their women?
No, when you say inferior, I mean, are black women inferior? You mean, are they placed in an inferior position?
No, I asked the question exactly the way I intended to ask it.
No, there's no
and if they are placed in an inferior position, who places them there? Black men or black
society
or society?
Does. Society does.
No, it's those folks that say a welfare check is better than a paycheck. Those are the ones that need to be discriminated against. If anybody's going to be discriminated.
There are 200 million white people in America. 200 million white people in America. 25 million black people in America. There are more white people on welfare than there are black people. Hold it.
Well, that's true.
Listen, please. What?
people. That's the reason that's coming
The
about.
tragedy here,
Right.
the tragedy here, and I find this everywhere I go, that people do not deal with logic. They deal with their passions, with their emotions, and with your prejudice. Look at things as they really are, and not as I'm conveying to you a problem that black people have, that Hispanics have, that Jews have, that women have. And there you go. See, here I am conveying a problem, and yet they want to fight me.
But doctor,
for
you're
giving
conveying
you the
a problem to those of us who are white who also have problems. And
No.
you and I both know that when our finger is broken, it is difficult to sympathize with someone who has a
I want
toenail
the
in
entire
there.
audience to hear this.
All right. Let me hear the doctor.
No white person, or very few white people, don't accept everything as this. Very few white people in America have a problem because they're all white.
All right.
All right? Most black people have a problem because.
To walk down the street
Wait a second. Let me hear him just say.
3,000.
Let me hear him just say.
I deplore that, sir. What happens to you in Atlanta, I deplore that. You have a right.
Brotherhood crowd.
Listen, you have a right to march and to demonstrate as a member of the Klan, as a member of the white citizens of the Klan, whatever you are. You have a right to march and to demonstrate, and I deplore anyone that tries to stop you. You have a right to speak to
Well,
the
if he were a
microphone.
Klan man,
Anything you can.
if he were a Klan man or a skinhead, you'd have to deplore me, doctor, because I'd damn well take away their right to march.
Pardon?
I'd take away the right of the Klan and the right of the skinheads to march.
What you don't understand, and what I must say as a black man, that I have faith in this country enough to believe that the masses of people in America are intelligent enough to understand bigotry and to denounce it.
What about racism?
So let's
Next are bigotry.
now listen to this. Now
because
listen to this.
they
Now
have
listen
an
to this.
attitude
Listen to
problem.
this. She wants to fight me now.
Yes, I do. Because I don't agree with it.
What are you
Because
saying?
I have black people that are friends, but there are a lot of black people out there who have this problem, like everybody is out to get them, so they say everybody's bigotry, and that is not right.
You're not making any sense to me. It's talking about black people out there. What black people out? What are you talking about?
People are saying that people are just
Black people are not saying anything like that. You're just talking to me talking.
No,
You don't trust the American people. You don't trust democracy. You want the minorities to have favors.
Listen to this fool.
Favors to the few.
I just got finished saying.
Justice for everybody.
I just got
I'll give
finished
you a
saying
credo.
I have-
Doctor, I'll give you a credo for America. How's this sound? Work more and you'll have more in America. That's
I just got finished saying.
Why don't you say
I have
amen
faith.
to
Why
that?
don't you let him finish?
I have faith in this country, and he turns around and says that I don't trust this country. That's a fool.
What you do speaks louder than what you say,
I'm going to
Dr.
say to
King.
you like I hear Morton say to everyone else, shut up.
And I'll say like the Lord said to the devil up on the mountaintop. He said, "Get behind me, Satan."
Wait a minute. I'm going to tell you something that you will never tell me. You say, get behind me. I'm going to tell you something that you'll never say to me. As a human being, I love you.
And I love America.
Yes, I caught him.
Well, let me ask you something.
I caught him.
Let me ask you something.
I
Is
caught
he
him.
part of America, sir?
Well, he doesn't seem to think so if he calls himself a hyphenated American.
He did not say that.
Ask him if he's an African American,
I'm a
and
black-
I'll tell you,
I'm a
I'm an
black-
American.
I am a
period.
black American.
Nothing else.
I'm
He's
a
a
black
black
American.
American.
Now what are you going to say?
See, notice he puts black first.
Well, tell me I'm not an American.
I'm just a plain old American, and I say USA.
You're
yes,
just a plain
no.
old bigot.
You know why?
I'm bigoted against anybody that would put a hyphen on the word American. Yes,
You're
sir.
not talking about me, are you?
You just said black American. I'll tell you, we don't want black
You know what I said?
America.
Because the government
We don't
says
want
I'm a black
red America. We just want a red, white, and blue America. That's what we want in this country.
So if you want red, you want of course, the Indians. You want white, of course, you want the Caucasians. You want blue. You want every poor son of a bitch in this country is sad because he can't get a decent break.
Red for the blood of fellas like me that's bled in Vietnam. Blue for the blue-collar slob that's cutting meat and driving a taxi. And white for the purity of the intentions of a country that is the purest, noblest country that ever existed on the
We
face of the earth.
have been for a long time the purists, all right? We have been for a long time the purists. But I wonder if we're pure when we get so upset at someone saying they're a white American, a red American, a black American, what the hell difference does it make? We always use the word American.
I think what it means, Morton, is in the last 20 years, you have these felloas getting affirmative actions. They're taking jobs.
Oh, I grant you. I grant you affirmative action was necessary for a while, but that's over.
A drastic mistake. It is a cardinal rule. It is a cardinal rule. Never argue with a fool because people will not know which one is which.
I know who the fool is. So do they. And we'll be back in just a minute. Dr. King has claimed continuously that sexism leads to racism. Would you explain that, sir?
Yes, one of the chief problems in America is the inability of white people and black people to get together because of the fear of the mixture of the races. This dates back to slavery time. And that laws against intermarriage.
Well, if it dates back to slavery time, how come there are studies now that indicate 1/3 of the white population of America has black blood in it? Obviously, it didn't upset anyone too much.
That's not true.
Well,
less than 1% of all marriages in this country between black and white.
Who says you have to get married to have a kid?
Okay. Let me deal with that one on the next segment of the program. I'll deal with that later. I said on my plan. I was asked to tell the difference between racism and bigotry. Bigotry are people that have an invested interest in promoting a racist attitude toward black people. Most white people are not bigots. Most white people are decent, well-meaning, religious, moral, ethical beings. So there are certain people, like the man at the podium, who have an invested interest in keeping negative attitudes going. They want to promote hatred and hostility, to divide the races.
Okay, I'm going to tell you.
Let him finish, and then I'll give you a chance, all right? Let him finish first. Then I'll give you a chance.
That's the difference. Now, the other racism is prejudice, which means you go along the customs and the traditions, but you do no harm to black people at all. You just are like you are without doing any harm to people. It's what you feel. But bigotry is an act, an overt act, like belonging to the Klan or the White Citizen Council.
Well, let me ask you a question, doctor, sir.
Yes.
Let's go back to 1967, Montgomery, Birmingham, Alabama. Dr. King's marches in those areas, where the black store owners had a vested interest in keeping the blacks out of shopping in an open area that would become black and white, because they knew they'd lose their business in their stores if the blacks could shop in white stores. Were those blacks bigots?
No.
They weren't. They had a vested interest.
They are reacting to a natural phenomenon of preserving their business interests. It has nothing to do with race.
If I react to a natural phenomenon of preserving my business, and I keep blacks out of my business, then I'm not a bigot.
No, you're not a bigot, no.
Mort, I came through Newark, New Jersey today. I drove through it on the way to the program. I remembered I went to school there, and 20 years ago, it was the jewel of New Jersey. It's now the garbage dump. And, you know, he accused me of being hateful. I'm going to tell you what my agenda is. Kennedy said by 1970 we were going to walk on the moon. Well, by the year 2000, let's say to the American people, you can walk on the streets of any American city, including Newark, New Jersey. Let's do that. Let's take our cities back from the crime and the hate and the degeneracy.
One of the problems that black people have in America is to allow people like this gentleman to talk like this and wait for them in order to fight them. It is time for some white people to stand on their feet and tell that man, you do not appreciate his attitude nor the way he's going about this.
Well, I'll tell you.
Why are you now defending him?
He didn't say anything about a black person. He just said...
Go up there.
All he said
was to be able to walk on your streets comfortably.
But isn't the indication that Newark is about 90% black? Isn't that what he's saying?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I don't live in Newark.
Well, that's what Newark is 90% black. streets talking about black people.
I live in a white neighborhood and I can't walk the streets at night either.
Here, get an illustration. You allow bigotry to prevail, and I'm talking against it, and she jumped on me again.
No, if he is a bigot, I think he should read your book too.
After listening to this fella, I know now
Why
why.
don't you get near a microphone, Mal? Over there. Go ahead, pal.
You know, after listening to this fella, now I know why they have in that ad, a mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Hey.
Not you.
Right.
Don't touch my body. Don't touch my body.
Go ahead, pal.
I resent these two people talking about Newark because I was born in Newark and I got a lot of brothers in Newark. I'm always in Newark all the time. I think the problem here.
Any fear of walking the streets of Newark?
I walk in Newark almost every day.
I walk the streets of Newark always. I walk the streets of Harlem always. I've never been bothered. You must have a strange odor about you.
I think it smells kind of bad.
I say the same thing that Bobby Kennedy said. He said, some people see it the way it is. I want it the way it will
I don't know
be.
why you're talking about blacks then. If 90% of Newark is
Peaceful
black, big
neighborhood,
deal.
happy home.
They're just like you. They're just like you. Black
I want four white guys here to demonstrate something.
Okay.
Can I get
Let's see three more
against
volunteers.
And hate.
Three more volunteers. Come on up here. Come on up here. You two. You. Come on. Come on.
All right, now give me two white women. Two white women.
That's enough.
Okay.
Oh.
Now I want you to join hands in a circle. Join hands in a circle. Join hands in a circle. We're going to have a demonstration of how racism really works. Okay, now, you got the circle? Sir, what is your name? Ralph. Okay. Ralph, I want you to try to get in the middle of the circle. I want you to hold hands. Whatever you do, don't let Ralph in. You got it? I want you to feel the hurt and the harm of what happens to a person once they are denied entrance into society. Don't let them in. Okay, Ralph, get in there. Okay, you try. You try. Okay, hold. You try. One more.
Grab your circle again. Get your circle.
I will. Okay, hold this. I will try to get it. What you're witnessing is this. This is how racism works. Number one, they are following orders. They're not thinking for themselves. They're working as a unit to hurt somebody. As individuals, they would not do this. But together, they find it easy to hurt you and to hurt her. As long as you're together, you have no individual guilt.
I think another thing that's important. Doctor, that you didn't notice yourself. As the circle was made, as you tried to keep out this gentleman and this gentleman, it was a perfect circle. You kept moving around. As soon as Dr. King said he was going to try and get in, you kept your circle. It closed in tight.
Let me say
so that
something.
you're all facing each other, all right?
Number one is I'm the boss. They wouldn't let me, and I made the circle. They wouldn't let me.
We were trying to give a tight circle because this guy is a big guy, and there's no way you were going through me anyway. But anyway, he was a big guy, and we had to keep him warm because you ain't guys at the board.
Will you allow me, please, to try to explain how racism works instead of arguing?
Let's do that in the next segment, all right? Let's do that in the next segment. Come on back with us, gang. Now, Dr. King, the question has to be asked, if we keep the damn media out of this, are blacks and whites ever going to come together, and how? And when?
I'm hopeful so. within the next generation, every major city in this country will be dominantly black. Chicago, New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Dallas, every city in America major.
Well, we
is
objected when
dominantly
the South
black.
seceded
Wait,
from
so
the
let me
Union.
hear
Let's
this.
object when Detroit seceded from the Union.
Let's hear this.
That means
You might learn something. What the hell is that on your hat?
A cotton ball.
Huh? A cotton ball?
Sure.
What are those little things growing up to there?
That's for the rural people and for the working man.
That means that
You
my
work?
aim,
You know, this fellow,
You work?
that's calluses right there.
Huh?
That ain't just being
Sir,
a
for
lawyer.
all I know, you may use that hand for something else.
That's on a plow.
Doctor,
my
in a moment.
my
All right.
ultimate aim and objective, the seminars I conduct, is to bring black and white people together.
Even if they don't want it. Force them.
Well, someone tell them to please sit down, please. Please. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now it's
Anyone, if this is America, then let's bring people together, not separate them from each other. Every major city is dominantly black or will be. We've got to do something to bring our race together. Otherwise, in the next decade, there's going to be trouble down the road.
It's going to be big trouble down the road because if they all become black, we know the tax base is not there. If the tax base is not there, the services deteriorate. If the services deteriorate, you've got urban rot. When you have that, sir, you have nothing.
Well, then let's take our
Urban
cities back and make them part of America
Urban
again.
America.
How do you propose to bring the cities back? You've never said how.
Okay.
You say do this, do that. You've never said how you were going to bring the cities back.
The same way they did in the Civil
Everybody
War.
believes
They
in what
said to
you
the South,
stand
this
for
is
and what you
America,
believe
and I
in.
say to Detroit, I say to Atlanta, this is America, buddy.
What does that mean? What does that mean
That
to
means
me?
we're
What
not-
do you
that
what are you
means-
telling me you're going to do?
I'll tell you what it means. It means we're not going to have pink power in San Francisco. We're not going to have black power in Atlanta. We're not going to have brown power in San Antonio. We're just going to have red, white,
You're not
and blue
going to have
power
white
everywhere.
power in Chicago.
Red, white, and blue power. That's all it's going to be.
You're not going to have white power in Chicago, right?
American.
But you said black, you said
how do you
red,
do
you
this?
said pink.
How?
How about
By
white?
saying to the American people, folks, take back every
Be
inch
a
of
bigot.
American
Be
turf
a
because it
bigot.
belongs to
Fire
us.
whoever
This is
you
our
think you should
country.
fire and be a bigot is what you're trying to
Ladies
do.
and
Or let me put it this way. Why,
Ladies and
why
gentlemen.
when I listen to this?
Ladies and gentlemen, I really applaud this audience, and I'm not saying that because I don't have to get angry or to fight at this man. You're doing it, that's what you need to do more of. Now, everyone in this room that wants to denounce this kind of thinking, stand on your feet and denounce this man. Do it now. Stand up. Thank you. Thank you.
They probably voted for McGovern, too, but that's besides the point.
Interesting. I only saw one person remain seated, and that was a race that claims they're discriminated against, a woman.
And they are discriminated against. Sir, will you allow
More, can I ask you a question?
Sir,
Can
will
I
you
ask
allow
a
me to
question?
finish here?
Let him
Can I
finish.
allow me to
Let him
finish
finish.
here?
Let him finish.
Will you allow me to finish here, please?
Go ahead, doctor.
Could I ask you a question?
Will you shut up? Huh? Zip it. Now, do what you have to do, doctor. Please. I realize, sir, you abhor violence. I'm sorry, I don't. Go ahead.
The Bible says Jesus stirreth up the people, and I don't mind doing
The Bible
that.
says people don't wear hats like that unless they're real.
The people in Mississippi like it, and working people like it, and I'm for
I'm
working
working
people.
people too, pal.
What bothers me, and this is true of bigotry, people who are bigots have no feelings. He doesn't even get angry or upset by what we're saying to him.
An android.
He doesn't feel anything.
Please, doctor, get to the blackboard. No, as a matter of fact, if we become so sensitive
Here is
about
the
things
problem.
like that, then we're in trouble.
Here is the problem in America. White, black. The average white person in America is well-meaning. They say, I don't care what color they are. we're going to hire the ones best qualified, right? That sounds like a fair statement, doesn't it? Yeah. The balance. Watch this. I don't care what color they are. We should hire the ones best qualified. How many would agree with that statement?
Absolutely.
Now watch this.
Well, then let's abolish the Civil Rights
If
Act.
there
so
are
we can do
200 million white people in America and 25 million black people in America and 18 million Hispanics and 7 million Jews and 1 million Indians, I will repeat that statement. We don't care what color they are. We ought to hire the ones best qualified. Do you see it? There is a numerical imbalance. This means get there first and foremost. And that's the reason why you need programs to give these people over here an equal opportunity for employment.
All right, but doctor, just a minute. An equal opportunity for employment is a fine statement.
Doesn't mean
It's a fine statement. Fine statement, sir. But you prefaced this comment, this blackboard, by saying, give the best qualified person the job. Now, with affirmative action, sir, which I believe needed to be in place for 20 years, 20 years are up. All right, with affirmative action, everyone supposedly had an equal opportunity to get that education. Supposedly, all right? However, when a man comes in with a 70 score here, and a man comes in with a 50 score here, and the man here, because of affirmative action, is given the job over the man with the 70 score, you're right. You are creating a nation of mediocrity. Right? And you're right.
There should be an affirmative action program that will give this man a chance to study, so he may be able to qualify when they have this examination.
In that case, you're absolutely right. We'll be right back with the audience.
Okay.
Come on. Before I begin with our audience in a sense of fair play, let me do two things. First, remind you that Dr. King conducts seminars of this nature, all right, for the CIA and many other government agencies. Secondly, let me say that Richard Barrett has written a book and published a book. It's called The Commission by Richard Barrett. And, folks, we have no toilet paper in our restroom. Would you use that, please? All right. Let me start with you, sir. Let me start with you. Zip that. You'll get one last final word later. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm going to directly have to say to this gentleman. I live in Rockaway, New Jersey, and there was an incident a few weeks ago in Morristown where a black American was arrested by 5 white police officers. He was beaten. Why haven't anybody asked the witnesses who are black what happened? They don't want to know what happened. If it was a white man arrested by black police officers, they would have been suspended until the investigation was completed. Why were the white police officers transferred out of that section of the town?
They shouldn't have been. Shouldn't have been.
Why shouldn't they? Why weren't they suspended? So the investigation was over. Just get them out of the town. Just move them to another section so they don't have to deal with it.
Well, maybe because in America you're presumed innocent until you're proved guilty.
But they never interviewed any of the black people in the community that witnessed the beating. How did he get cuts on the back of his head? How did he get broken ribs? Why weren't they trained to recognize that he was having heart problems and died?
What do you want me to say?
Well, obviously can't say anything. Sir, go ahead. Next.
Yeah. I want to direct it to this gentleman, too. You were talking about getting black power out of Atlanta. What do you want to do? Create another civil war in this country?
All right, let me put it to you this way.
I mean, the Civil War was bad enough. You don't need to create another one.
You asked the question. Thomas Jefferson once said the tree of liberty sometimes has to be watered by the blood of tyrants as well as patriots. When I listened to Dr. King, didn't you kind of think maybe USA wasn't good enough, that he maybe wanted USA CP, US for the advancement of colored people? We're Baptists. We sing an old song that says, give me that old-time religion. Just give me that old glory. It's good enough for all of us. It's good enough for all of us.
If we all have the same breaks, you're right. It's good enough for all of us. I agree. I agree. If we all get the
And
same
maybe
break.
we could have another motto. I didn't hear this when I listened to Dr. King, but you know, where there's favors for a few, that he wants the special promotions for the people on that side of the chart, so that the 200 don't rule America. They have special favors. Whether you have favors for the few, you've got injustice for everybody.
Oh, I agree.
Instead,
we want
let's
the
have
favors
justice for all.
We want the
for nobody.
favors for all of the people, but we don't want the damn government to give us the favors. We want to take them right now because they belong to us in our Constitution, and we don't need a bunch of mindless representatives in Washington telling us we're free. So you're free here, pal.
All right.
That's where your freedom begins. Go ahead.
You seem to know a lot about religion. But you seem to be avoiding one thing. In the Bible, it says, love thy neighbor. It doesn't say love thy black neighbor. It doesn't say love thy white neighbor. I'm a city kid. I grew up with blacks, whites, Hispanics, and everyone else.
I was born
we
in
weren't
Washington
allowed.
Heights.
We weren't allowed to be prejudiced. We just grew up with everybody. Everybody was each other's neighbors and their friends. Okay? We didn't want
When
to
a
be
black
prejudiced.
guy got out of line, you kicked the crap
That's
out of
right.
him.
And if a white guy, an Irish guy, or an Italian guy, it
We'll
didn't
be back
matter.
in just a second. Stay with us. Here we go, right here. How about this gentleman?
Yeah, Mort.
Let me know when I've only got a minute and a half.
All right, Mort, I just want to say that I'm Italian, and we got a long way to go as far as the blacks and the whites getting together. I mean, you got racism right within my Italian race. You got certain Italians calling others Guidos. I mean, that's a bigoted remark within the Italian race.
All right, so you got it in the Irish, you got it in the German, you got it in the Puerto Rican, you got it all over the place.
Right,
Go ahead,
that's
pal.
what I'm saying. We got a long way
Go
to
ahead.
go. I go with him, you know, it's true. But I don't think anybody's doing that bad. I mean, blacks, whites, whatever. I mean, everybody's doing. Look at Eddie Murphy. He's doing great. He's doing better than me. But everybody's just.
Well, he's funnier than you too, man. I mean, you got, like this young lady said, if we leave it to the media, we're guaranteed to have a schism between blacks and whites and Hispanics and reds and Orientals, and you name it, it'll go all the way. Ma'am, quickly.
Yes, before you interrupt
Say
me.
something. Don't go
Okay.
back to the past, baby. That's gotten us nothing but trouble. Go
All right.
forward.
Bigotry is also created in the mind by people who think that they're being treated inferior. Because
Okay. All right, good point. Go ahead, sir.
Remember when he was saying about equal opportunity, people had equal jobs for the blacks, the foreigners, the minority? Well, what do you see in Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's? They're all mostly 100% black. There's no white people working there. And then there's the post office that's got 100% black. And there's a few white. I went in there, I got a job there. That's all I saw was there was black.
Well, I got to tell you something now. If you just think for a minute. Just think for a minute, doctor. You're going to have a minute. You're going to be through. Here's what you got to remember. As each race in this country has come along, the Irish at one point became the cops. Then the Italians became the cops. Then the Jews. Then the Irish went to the post office. Then the Italians, all right? Now you got the blacks going to the police and going to the post office.
Commercials,
Maybe
TV,
finally,
and you got two right there,
they're
one here.
emerging. You got a minute, doctor. Finish this up. No, he's
So
got a
where's
minute.
equal opportunity?
He's got a minute. Finish it up now.
You got
Zip
equal.
it. Let's go. We got a minute. Let's hear it.
Can I offer a solution?
No, you can't offer crap. Go.
I was just going to say, let the people vote.
I want to say this.
Let the people in
Get
your
this bum off here, will you?
I want to say this sincerely. This is my second time on the Morton Downey show. The people who saw the first show told me, don't go on that show. Well, let me tell you, this is one show where the truth is allowed to be spoken. People give from their guts. And if we ever are to solve problems, we've got to open up with our feelings and let ourselves be known. I want to thank you tonight because you did something. You did something tonight that I want to thank you for. For the first time in a long time, I saw an audience of white people stand on their feet and denounce bigotry. Thank you very much.
The critics can say what they want to say about our audience, all right? And they say a lot. But if they'll watch tonight, they saw real America, all right? America that loves everybody. Kick ass and keep on doing it. Good luck.